Do you voice your opinions? Watch out. You might get fired.
He has resigned,
stepping down after controversial comments.
The opinion editor of the New York Times has just resigned.
You probably heard about this man losing his job because he approved an op-ed by Republican Senator Tom Cotton. It was headlined, "Send in the troops to restore order when there are riots." Sometimes reporters claimed
that is a dangerous, dangerous thing for the New York Times to have published.
Many tweeted the exact same wording, saying it put their lives in danger.
But it didn't put their lives in danger.
No, it didn't. It's absurd.
Robby Soave reports on today's young radicals, like the ones at the New York Times.
Their union promoted it because that language spoke to a potential legal concern. Harassment law, that's their tactic for seizing power in the workplace.
Where did this tactic come from?
It's not a debate. It's not a debate.
It started on college campuses.
Guys, you have created space for violence.
I disagree with that.
Several years ago, this mob of angry students at Yale surrounded this professor.
Why can't you say sorry?
I'm sorry.
Saying that you didn't have the right to dress up.
Saying sorry is never enough.
Look at me.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
Your experiences will never connect to mine. Empathy is not necessary for you to understand that you're wrong.
What horrible thing had Professor Nicholas Christakis done? He defended his wife sending out a pre-Halloween email saying, whose business is it to control costumes of young people like turbans or headdresses just because they come from other cultures?
The message that you sent proclaiming that cultural appropriation on Halloween is totally permissible is hurtful.
Apologize!
I want to make sure.
I understand.
They screamed at him for an hour. There's nothing he could say to them to convince them. They're just trying to punish someone, to humiliate someone who disagrees with their tactics.
I do not respect you.
I don't hear that.
I'm looking at the smirk in your face and I'm disgusted.
Okay.
But now I am actually angry, sir. I really do not interrupt me. I was not angry, and now I want your job to be taken from you.
It was. He had to step down as head of a residential hall. His wife had to stop teaching. The mob won. It won at campus after campus. Now these students have graduated.
They're now moving off the campus and into the broader culture and into the workplace,
where they demand that people not say certain things. At the Philadelphia Inquirer,
there was an article published in the paper with the title, "Buildings Matter Too."
It was a bad headline, linking buildings with Black lives. 44 staff members claimed this carelessness puts our lives at risk. Their letter didn't give any evidence how it threatened their lives, but they won.
The top editor at the Inquirer resigned.
Then young activists at NBC News tried to silence The Federalist, a respected conservative site that NBC smeared as far right. What had The Federalist done? Published a column that said, correctly, the media had falsely claimed violent riots were peaceful. But it also quoted a government official saying tear gas was not used against rioters, which turned out not to be true. So NBC then claimed Google blocked The Federalist from advertising after NBC's verification unit brought it to Google's attention.
An apparent push by NBC to remove ads from the Federalist site.
The reporter even thanked left-wing activist groups for their collaboration. But it turned out that NBC's report was just wrong.
Google tonight saying that's not true.
So the activist mob failed here.
Jace is on the case.
Some people want to cancel Paw Patrol.
What the activists are saying, we should have fewer positive portrayals of law enforcement in the media.
Being a police dog takes a lot of hard work.
So some people said defund Paw Patrol for brainwashing kids into thinking law enforcement's noble and just.
So we're sitting here telling you that you are being racist, you are being offensive.
Today's young activists say, we know what's just, and it's our job to stop you from saying offensive things.
Who hired you?
How can you allow someone to say something that offends me?
The problem with that is
we're supposed to occasionally offend each other because you might be wrong. We have to have a conversation about it. We have to challenge dogma. What if we were still with the principle that you couldn't speak out against the king? That's the history of the Middle Ages, is people suffering violent consequences for daring to offend people.
Galileo was arrested for saying the earth revolved around the sun.
That's the conditions that all humans lived under, and it was a much less happy place. Then we came to an idea that, no, we improve society by having frank and sometimes difficult conversations about how we're going to get along and live together.
But now, influential young people say some things must never be said.
It's starting at some elite media institutions, but I predict that it will spread out further unless a serious effort is made by people to confront it.
I hope you learned something from these videos, and if you'd like to help us keep making more, please click that button.